Air raid sirens tear through the Istanbul sky, signaling the end of an ancient empire here today. The Sea of Marmara suddenly recedes kilometers, revealing a muddy seabed filled with rotting shipwrecks right now. From the horizon, a pitch-black wall of water 50 meters high rises, blocking the sunlight completely. The Galata Tower shakes violently before being crushed into dust by the massive water volume instantly. The Bosphorus Bridge snaps its cables, throwing hundreds of cars into the deadly swirling waters down below. The historic Fatih district is wiped out as ancient domes crumble under million tons of seawater pressure. There is no escape for 15 million people as the city is trapped between giant waves today. The North Anatolian Fault has awakened after 2 centuries of sleep, releasing its suppressed fury on Earth. A continental slope section collapses into the abyss, triggering an ocean monster that swallows everything whole immediately. The tsunami travels at the speed of a jetliner, giving the warning systems absolutely no chance today. The lonely maiden tower at sea is swept away like a fragile plastic toy by waves instantly. Night falls simultaneously with the floodwaters, turning Istanbul into a dark and cold hell on Earth tonight. Skyscrapers in Levant tilt and crash into each other, creating deafening metallic explosions and sparks flying around. From satellite view, Turkey looks like an open, bleeding wound as the sea invades the land completely. The roar of the ocean drowns out all screams, the last sound this city ever hears today. Desperate hands reach up from the swirling waters, trying to grasp floating debris drifting aimlessly away now. This is not science fiction, but a geological death sentence that has been predicted for years already. The countdown clock has reached 0, and the fateful moment for the Bosphorus Strait begins right now. Can humanity survive when nature decides to reclaim what belongs to it, starting from this day forth? Welcome to the worst-case scenario, Istanbul Mega-Tsunami. The day Sea of Marmara swallows continents today. It is a normal Friday afternoon in Istanbul, as bright golden sunlight covers the entire city landscape. On the Galata Bridge, hundreds of locals are leisurely dropping their fishing rods into the sparkling water. The Grand Bazaar is crowded with tourists, as laughter and greeting sounds echo through the narrow aisles. Deep 1,000 meters underwater geological pressure at the North Anatolian Fault has reached its absolute limit. A small crack suddenly widens, releasing energy equivalent to hundreds of atomic bombs exploding deep underwater now. On the ground, Turkish tea glasses on roadside cafe tables begin to vibrate slightly without any warning. A man reading a newspaper looks up, feeling the unusual movement beneath his feet for the first time. Flocks of pigeons at Taksim Square fly into the sky simultaneously, creating a dense black cloud overhead. Stray cats across the city hiss in fear and run away into deep, narrow alleys for safety. The water surface at the Bosphorus Strait begins to bubble white as if a giant fire is underneath. A powerful magnitude 8.5 tremor tears through the city foundation in total shock and disbelief. Old apartment buildings sway violently as lime dust falls like rain on the heads of pedestrians below. At Karakoy Port, the seawater suddenly recedes away from the shore at a speed never seen before. Fishing boats are sucked by the current, crashing into each other and stranding on the black mud. The Marmara seabed is exposed for the first time, revealing ancient rusty shipwrecks hidden for centuries history. Instead of fleeing, many curious locals walk to the shore to film this strange phenomenon on phones. A tourist holds a phone live streaming, unaware that he is standing on a future mass gravesite now. Large fish struggle desperately on dry land, signaling the complete inversion of the ecosystem right at this moment. The air becomes terrifyingly silent as the wind stops blowing and urban noise seems to vanish completely. Kandili Seismic Observatory records needles dancing wildly, going off the scale beyond the allowed measurement limit today. A scientist looks at the computer screen with a face pale from absolute terror and shock right now. She tries to pick up the emergency phone, but the communication lines are completely jammed due to overload. The public address system starts making crackling sounds before howling the air raid siren alarm across the city. But the warning sound travels much slower than the monster rushing in from the open sea right now. On the horizon, a milky white band appears, growing larger and swallowing the view rapidly every second. People standing on the beach begin to realize the truth as smiles vanish from their faces instantly. A low growl from the ocean echoes and sounding like a freight train rushing closer every second. The crowd starts turning to run as screams tear through the brief silence in a chaotic panic. A child drops a teddy bear into the mud, which is trampled by the panicked crowd mercilessly. Cars on the coastal road try to U-turn, causing a horrific traffic jam instantly on the spot. Traffic police blow whistles, hopelessly swallowed by the sea of people losing control of their behavior completely. The tsunami begins to rise, sucking water from surrounding bays to accumulate even more power and height. The shadow of the massive water wall begins to fall upon the first high-rise buildings right now. Seagulls fly chaotically, crashing into high-rise glass windows in a desperate attempt to escape the danger zone. At the airport control tower, staff see the radar screen turn into a bright red color warning. A plane just taking off hurriedly banks to avoid the air compressed by the tsunami wave underneath. But for those still on the ground, time has officially run out with no chances left anymore. The Marmara sea monster reveals its true form, a 50-meter-high wall of deadly black water. It blocks the sun, turning the late afternoon into eternal night in just a short, fleeting moment. The impact is inevitable, and Istanbul is about to face the darkest moment in its entire history. The Prince's Islands are the first victims completely wiped out by the supersonic impact force immediately. The lonely Maiden Tower is swept away like a matchbox, sinking instantly into the white foam. The water wall hits Catastrophic breakwater, creating a vertical water column hundreds of meters into the sky. Massive ferries are lifted into the air, spinning around and thrown directly into the tall buildings. Üsküdar district sinks under the sea in seconds as streets turn into deadly canyons of death. Shockwaves shake the Bosphorus Bridge as giant steel cables snap apart just like guitar strings snapping. The bridge deck snaps in two, dropping hundreds of gridlocked vehicles into the chaotic, swirling waters. An out-of-control oil tanker crashes into the bridge pillar, creating a bright explosion sky-high. At Golden Horn, the Galata Bridge is lifted and shattered into twisted, deformed metal pieces instantly. Even no new square disappears, as seawater floods the ferry terminal, washing away thousands waiting in desperate hope. Topkapi Palace on the high hill cannot escape the white-capped waves licking at its walls. Dark black water breaks the main doors of Hagia Sophia, violating the sacred thousand-year space. Inside, the water rises, washing away carpets and flooding the most precious marble columns and floors. The Blue Mosque suffers the same fate as minarets shake violently, ready to collapse down anytime. The weight of water crushes the first floors, causing buildings to collapse in a domino effect. A torrent of mud, concrete, and vehicles surges through narrow streets with absolute destructive power today. Water pressure explodes millions of glass windows, turning them into a deadly rain of sharp knives. Besiktas Stadium turns into a giant swimming pool filled with debris and murky seawater instantly. The magnificent Dolmabahce Palace facade collapses as crystal chandeliers fall into the water, shattering into pieces. The iconic red trams are overturned, floating aimlessly like toys in a bathtub full of water. Galata Tower base fails under impact as stones crack, causing the structure to tilt sideways slowly. The iconic tower collapses, creating a massive dust cloud mixing into the rising floodwaters immediately. Water floods metro tunnel entrances, turning the underground transport system into a deadly drainage sewer instantly. Marmaray undersea tunnel is torn by pressure as seawater sprays in at jet speed velocity now. The moving train is crushed by high-pressure water as lights go out in cold darkness. At Levent district, skyscraper foundations liquefy as the entire tower slides down the steep slope quickly. Gas pipelines rupture, causing columns of fire to erupt directly on top of the floodwaters. Transformers explode as blue electric sparks dance on water, electrocuting every living creature near the area. Lucky survivors climb onto rooftops, looking down at the torrent, washing away their entire lives today. From a helicopter view, Istanbul is no longer a city but a battlefield submerged in mud. A giant garbage island of furniture, cars, and trees forms, drifting aimlessly through the city streets. Water invades the Grand Bazaar, turning this ancient maze into a water trap with no exit. Gold, jewelry, and spices float aimlessly, mixing into the mud in a truly tragic manner today. A massive container ship is pushed inland by waves, crushing a densely populated residential area completely. Containers fall from the ship deck, crushing tiny houses below, just like fragile eggshells right now. Mosque minarets show only their sharp tips as the rest is submerged deep under murky water. Zoo walls break as wild animals swim desperately amidst the rapidly flowing floodwaters right now. Hospital basements flood and generators fail, leaving patients in total darkness and pure panic right now. Fatih Sultan Mehmet Bridge also suffers the same fate, snapping in two and sinking into the strait. Where two currents meet, giant whirlpools form, sucking everything down into the deep bottom right away. The sound of breaking, reinforced concrete echoes continuously, like machine gun fire in a great war. The air is thick with concrete dust and salt spray, making breathing extremely difficult for everyone. The great Theodosius walls, which stopped armies, now collapse helplessly before the power of water today. Million-dollar coastal villas are washed out to sea just like cardboard boxes floating away fast. 100-year-old trees are uprooted and hurled away like giant arrows flying through the air. Waves reflecting off cliffs create chaos as water attacks from all unpredictable directions at the same time. The city map changes every second as land becomes sea and streets turn into river channels. The second wave is higher, crashing in to destroy whatever remained from the previous attack wave. Even high hills begin to slide as soil becomes saturated with water too fast and much. Istanbul, the crossroads of civilization, is now just a chaotic, swirling water zone of death today. As the wave retreats, it leaves behind a layer of toxic mud covering the entire city completely. The transportation system is completely paralyzed as ambulances get stuck inside the endless pile of concrete debris. The steep roads of Istanbul turn into deadly slides, washing away every attempt to hold on tight. Panicked crowds trample each other at narrow staircases leading up to the high hill areas right now. Screams for help echo everywhere, but no one can stop to help in this chaotic survival situation. The city power grid shuts down, plunging Istanbul into darkness as the sun sets down below horizon. Flooded transformer stations explode, creating ghostly blue fireballs that illuminate the dark, muddy water briefly tonight. Ruptured gas pipelines catch fire, turning the floodwaters into a terrifying, burning sea of bright flames. Black smoke rolls up, blocking the sky, mixing with the strong smell of suffocating gas everywhere now. Firefighters watch helplessly as flames spread because fire trucks cannot access the scene due to debris. Rescue helicopters try to land but are blocked by strong winds and black smoke obscuring the view. At Taksim Square, thousands of soaked people huddle together under the cold, freezing rain falling down hard. Makeshift tents are built from debris, failing to shield against the freezing cold sea wind blowing hard. Telecom systems collapse, rendering phones useless bricks in the hands of survivors searching for signal right now. The loss of communication causes extreme fear regarding the fate of missing loved ones at this moment. Looting begins to erupt at remaining supermarkets as hunger and fear take over the crowd completely. Police try to maintain order but are quickly overwhelmed by the massive number of people right now. Clean water becomes more precious than gold as people fight over every single small mineral water bottle. Hospitals are overloaded as flooded corridors turn into temporary first aid stations for victims of the disaster. Lacking medicine and power, doctors are forced to make heartbreaking life and death decisions immediately right now. Underground, the metro stations turn into mass graves for thousands of people trapped inside the dark tunnels. Salty seawater corrodes electronic equipment, completely destroying the city data center beyond any repair hope today. The luxury cruise ship terminal is now just a pile of twisted scrap metal pointing skywards uselessly. Stray dogs gather in packs on rooftops, howling mournful sounds that echo through the ruined city night. The stench of garbage and dead bodies begins to rise, mixing into the humid, damp air now. Survivors on rooftops use flashlights to signal for help into the dark, endless void of the night. But the only answer they get is the wind whistling through the broken windows of the buildings. The city foundation continues to weaken, causing unexpected secondary collapses of buildings throughout the ruined area. An apartment building tilts and collapses into the water, creating a small wave spreading outwards immediately. The Bosphorus Strait is completely clogged by thousands of tons of floating debris and shipwrecks now. The maritime Silk Road is cut off, causing immeasurable global economic damage instantly for the whole world. Temperatures drop sharp deep into the night as bone-chilling cold attacks the soaked and hungry people. A mother hugs her child tightly, trying to pass on the last remaining warmth of her body. Cold moonlight shines down on the city, revealing a scene of destruction, like a true doomsday scenario. No more traffic noise, no more music, only the deadly silence of nature remains here right now. Symbols of power and religion have all fallen before the fury of the earth today, totally. Humans realize their insignificant smallness before the absolute power of Mother Nature right at this moment. Dawn breaks over the Bosphorus Strait, but sunlight does not shine on prosperity like before anymore. Silence covers the city as only the sound of waves lapping against broken walls remains today. Survivors covered in mud step out of the darkness, shocked by the scene of devastation everywhere. Istanbul's skyline has changed forever, losing its ancient minarets and domes to the sea permanently now. No statistics can ever measure the pain of families separated by this massive disaster right now. A torn Turkish flag is planted on the rubble, symbolizing the undying will to survive today. Nature has reclaimed what belongs to it, reminding humans of their humble place on Earth forever. The North Anatolian Fault remains there, a sleeping monster waiting for its next awakening time soon. This is a hypothetical scenario, but also a stern warning from the near future to us. Prepare before it is too late, because nature never negotiates with human beings at any time.